Hi guys, I'm so happy to get started finally with this new series called Decoding Finnish Education, and I just really want to start with the very first thing that I learned after studying 7.5 years in Finland. In case you don't know me, my name is Jade and I studied my whole high school here, which were 3 years. Then I also studied my bachelor's, which were 4 years, and now I'm in my first year at my master's, which I already coursed the first semester, so 7.5 years already studying in Finland. Along my way, there has been a lot of things that I've learned, and the biggest lessons, I'm going to be sharing them here. So I'm just going to start with the first one, and the first thing that I've learned, and it's probably going to be the biggest, one of the biggest things that make the difference, hopefully, in a lot of you, and that might allow you to understand a lot of the things from the Finnish educational system. It's the amount of freedom. So that's the first takeaway that I want to share with you, and it's just that Finnish students and foreigner students studying in Finland, the Finnish education gives them unbelievable amounts of freedom. So I'm just gonna start talking about how this freedom is reflected in high school, then how this freedom is reflected in the bachelor's level, and how this freedom is reflected at a master's level. So in case you just want to jump to a specific part, please check in the description below, because I'm just gonna add there some timestamps so that you can just jump to the best part that interests you in case you don't want to watch the full video. But now let's just get started. So high school, freedom in high school. In high school, high school students in Finland get a lot of freedom. And what I mean by that is, and I actually already mentioned in one of my videos, which I'm just gonna link above, is that Finnish students, okay, so in Finland you can study in the Finnish side or you can study in the international side. I personally studied in the international side, which was the international baccalaureate, but this amount of freedom really applies to both parts. So for the national side, it really starts with the kind of subjects that you want to study. So they have Finnish students have a specific number of subjects that they are supposed to study throughout their high school. However, what kind of subjects they want to study, it's up to them. They have some general guidelines, but overall they do get a lot of control on what kind of subjects they want to study. And what's more important is that they get to decide what are the subjects that they are going to present in their final examination. So basically, they have the amount of subjects that they have to study throughout their whole high school. And then they have these subjects that they pick and that they actually make the final examination on their third year of high school. And basically this final examination, it's the only thing that matters the most, because it's the subject that's gonna appear in their final certificate, and it's the grade that's gonna appear in their final certificate, and it's the grade that's gonna be reflected in their, like for the moment that they wanna apply to a specific university. So that's the first thing. So just like freedom about the subjects, but they also get the freedom in terms of time. So I know that like some students, usually the amount of time that takes to study high school, it's 3 years. However, in case the person decides to go on exchange or just wants to take it a little bit easier, it's very possible that students might just decide to do high school in 4 years, and that's not a problem with it. So not only do they get the freedom to decide what kind of subjects they want to study, they also get the freedom to decide how fast they want to study. And in high school, Finnish high school, it's divided, like each academic year is divided into 5 periods. And in each period, students are supposed to choose a certain amount of subjects. However, they get the freedom to, they get kind of like this big schedule that says what are the subjects offered for that specific period. And they get to personally choose what kind of subjects they study and in which period they want to. And they also get to see who is the teacher that's going to teach that specific subject. So they get to decide, for example, if there's many maths teachers, they also get to decide with which math teacher they want to study that course, if that's something that, it's important for them. Then the other thing in which they also get a lot of freedom, it's arranging their schedule. So there is a limit. I think there's 7 subjects, the maximum they can have per period, but there has been a few years since I studied high school. I think it's 7 maximum. However, if they wish to do maybe a little bit less subjects on a specific period, that's also up for them to decide. So that's probably another thing that reflects really the amount of freedom that they have. Also, another thing that I want to say, it's about the way in which subjects, in which courses are evaluated in high school in Finland. So basically the grading system goes, from, I guess, like from 0 to 10, but actually like no one can get 0, 1, 2, or 3. 4, it's the failing grade. And if a student gets anywhere between 5 or 10, that's already a passing grade. So basically, students also get a lot of freedom to decide with what kind of number they want to pass their courses. Like if there is a student that it's really not a lot into school and they just want to pass all their... If there's some Finnish people like from high school watching this video, please correct me if the passing grade is 5 or if the passing grade is 6. But I'm very sure that with 5 you already passed. So, there's a lot of freedom if you think that you only need to get 5 to pass. And you get to decide like with what kind of number do you want to pass all your courses. So that's the first thing that I really want to say. And this is the same freedom that applies to the international programs, which in my case was the International Baccalaureate. I started, for example, the International Baccalaureate, the guidelines ask you to actually just study or present the final examination of 6 subjects, from which 3 of them should be in standard level and 3 of them should be in higher level. However, for example, when I started in the International Baccalaureate, I was very naive. People told me that the program is hard. I have already experienced the first year of high school that high school was hard, but for me. But yeah, I decided, I don't know what I was thinking. I decided that I wanted to make 7 subjects and I took 5 subjects in higher level. Obviously, throughout my studies, I had to make changes because I don't know what I was thinking, that I thought I could make 5 higher level and 2 standard level and 7 in total in the International Baccalaureate. That was just way too much. So throughout my studies, I changed from studying higher level maths to studying standard level maths, from standard level maths to studying just math studies. That's the way it went. By the end of my high school, I just had 6 subjects, 4 of which were higher level and 2 from which were standard level. But basically students get the freedom to decide like what subjects they want to study and to which level do they want to study them. So do they want to study something at a higher level or do they want to study subjects at a standard level? And they also get to choose if, if 3 higher level it's not enough for them, they can decide themselves to make 4 higher level or 5 higher level or the 6 higher level. It is up for them to decide, and that's totally possible. So as you can see, there's like really a lot of freedom that's given to students in the way that they really, from a very, very early age, meaning high school, they get to decide what they want to study and they get to thrive in the areas that call them the most. And this kind of like freedom, this amount of freedom really just increases as you move to a bachelor's degree. And it is at the bachelor's level where Finland actually receives most of the foreign students. So for any foreign student that's like new to Finland for the first time, who has not really been familiarized with the Finnish education, the amount of freedom that you get on a bachelor's level might just be overwhelming and might just really cause a lot of confusion. At least that was the way I experienced it. I understood it as I went through my studies, but I think that if I would have just known this a little bit beforehand, it would have made my life like 1,000 times easier. So this freedom that we were talking in high school just increases in the bachelor's and in many different ways. For example, in Finland, at a bachelor's level, like normally all the bachelors, especially the ones that are taught in English, they last anywhere between 3.5 years to 4 years. However, legally, you always have the study right to add 1 year to your studies. So for example, I studied international business and my degree, ideally, the ideal time to make my degree, it's in 3.5 years. However, I legally automatically had the study right to postpone or to take longer to make my studies, and that's like 1 year. So, the regular time would have been 3.5 years, but I would have like up until 4.5 years to actually finish. I actually finished in 4 years. So not in 3.5, I took like 6 months extra. And yeah, but so you get this automatic study right that in case something happened, in case, you know, you had a breakdown, or in case you did something that you were not supposed to and you didn't finish your thesis on time, or something happened, you have the right to extend your study term for 1 year. However, the same freedom also applies if you want to graduate earlier. So even though, for example, my program, it's 3.5 years, I could have easily finished my program in 3 years or in 2.5 years if I would have been crazy enough to want to, you know, just study and not do anything else and actually just finish in 2.5 years. There's people that have done it and it's totally possible. The only programs that this might not apply, it's health programs, but that's just because the health regulation and the health studies are just so regulated that studying faster might not be an option. But I'm not 100% sure of that, but I know that a lot of the freedoms that apply to all of the programs might not, like, you know, more like social programs like business or like engineering might not apply in the same way to health programs. So that's the first thing. It's about like, how long do you want to take to finish your degree? Then something very important, and that really was in the bachelor studies, is that you really get the freedom to decide how much you want to, like, you know, first, like how much you want to study, but then also how much you want to get out of that subject. So for example, one of my biggest complaints when I was studying my bachelor's degree was at the end of the first year that we had this group meeting and with our study counselor, and our study counselor was a very nice lady, is a very nice lady. She's still our study counselor, and she was asking us, the group, that what kind of feelings do we have from our first year. And I said, like, I'm sorry, but it's too easy. Like, it was way too easy. Like, coming from a high school where I literally was average, and I actually just prayed for passing the diploma, going to a bachelor's the first year was extremely easy, and I was just very, very surprised with how is it possible that my first year was this easy. And what my study counselor, very wise lady, explained to me is that the Finnish education, it's meant to give the opportunity to study to basically all the people who want to study. So in that case, the study program should be such that it allows just fresh high school graduate students to study and thrive. As well as, for example, a person that's studying their second bachelor's degree, a person that's having a part-time job, a person that's a mom and has like 2 or 3 kids at home, a person that, like, you know, is like in some difficult situation that might not allow them to super just study. So that's kind of like the gift of the Finnish education, at least what I perceived in a bachelor's level. And I could clearly see it. Like, I studied in Savonia, and we get a lot of Russian students, and Russian students, they usually come like really, really, really young. So there might be like Russian students that are 17 years old already studying a university degree, and there might be some Finnish person that, you know, they studied a bachelor's, they graduated, now they have a family, but now, you know, they want to explore a different path and they want to study a new degree, and they are studying this new degree. And so, you know, especially the first year, it's dedicated, and the whole education, but I saw it specifically in the first year, it's dedicated for people to really get like a good start into the whole program and to really kind of like level everyone up. And so when I talked with my study counselor, she told me that, you know, Jade, like, if you want to learn more, you're always welcome to learn more, but this is kind of like the standard. So that is this was like the first thing that, you know, when I just arrived, my mind just could not process how is it that easy. That's the first thing that I have to share. And especially in bachelor's level, like the freedom in terms of how much you really want to get from each of the courses, it gets crazy. And I think that's why a lot of foreigners, like including myself, struggle at first, because the way in which you get evaluated in bachelor's level, it's from 0 to 5, but you pass with 1. And in order to pass with one, you have to get more than 50% of the course, which is pretty easy. So again, you know, if you consider both the flexibility with how many, you know, how fast or how not fast how long do you wanna take until you finish your bachelor's? If you add that to the flexibility of with what kind of grade you wanna pass the course, it is a big amount of flexibility, because you basically could go along your whole degree just passing with ones, and the thesis is also evaluated from 0 to 5. So if you're definitely not interested in studying a master's degree, which is probably one of the only reasons you are required to have a high average, is that if you just want to pass with like non-amazing grades your whole bachelor's, that's totally doable. So yeah, you know, it's the freedom for the student. Like you're most likely gonna pass the course. Like the question for yourself, it's with what kind of number. And a number, it's at the end of the day a number. Like, you know, I can understand that part, but on the other hand, a number, it's just a number. It's really a question of you understanding that you're an adult and that you're supposed to take care of your own learning, because it's the time that you are using to learn and prepare yourself for the adult world. So, you know, more than just the number, it's about, do you really learn what you are supposed to learn from this course? And that's like the freedom that you just get to choose. And I think that's what I would say. Like the Finnish educational system, especially when you enter the bachelor's, really sees you as the adult, as the person that gets to make their own decisions. And of course, they bring you your study counselor that it's there to support you and give you orientation in case you require so. But all overall, it is your choice. It is your decision. It is your life. It is your studies. So there we have covered how long do you want to take to make your studies? Then what kind of subjects do you want to choose? And here is where it really gets kind of like wildly crazy, because as long as you have been accepted to the University of Applied Sciences in Finland, there's something called Campus Online. So if you want to check it out, it's at campusonline.fi. And once you have been accepted to be a student in a University of Applied Sciences in Finland, you also get access to study courses at Campus Online. And Campus Online is basically a platform where all the universities existing in Finland can have their online courses. So basically, if you, like for example, myself, that I studied international business in Savonia, I started there, but during the summer, I just wanted to study, I think I did like a leadership course, and it was not offered by my university. It was offered by a University of Applied Sciences called Arcada, which is in Helsinki. And I took that course during the summer, and I was able to enroll there. So the fact that you apply to a specific program does not limit your learning opportunities. There's like paths available, such as Campus Online, which allows you to take, if your university does not offer what you want to learn, you can totally study it from another university and just have it count for the credits that you are required to have in order to graduate. Of course, it goes that you get it accredited for your optional courses, but if it's the same course but that you are just taking it in another university, it can just even be counted as one of your mandatory courses. You just have to talk it more with your teacher. I wouldn't like just ask more about this if this is something that might interest you. So as we can see, like really this freedom really just escalates at a bachelor's level. And as a student who can study other courses from other universities through platforms like Campus Online, you can also do the same within your own university. So every program will have, or almost every program, unless you're studying in a health, that also has like their own options. But health, like all the health degrees are like very specific. So please, whatever I'm saying, don't take it for the health part. It's mostly applicable, I know, for a lot of programs, but not the health part. Like they have their own rules, they have their own ways of doing, so that I wouldn't dare to give advice in anything related health. So yeah, so basically, if for example I studied business, so for example if I would have been interested in learning something about design, I could have taken design courses from our design school. If I wanted to take an engineering course, I am able to take courses from other, like complete different degrees, and just add them as my optionals. So usually all bachelors will have like the main structure of studies, and then they have like an optionals. And in all these optionals, if you are just interested like a lot, like let's say that I study business, but I'm super interested in tourism, I can just ask the tourism courses as my optionals. And that again, it's totally fine. So as you can see, just really this freedom, just really, in my personal opinion, it really might even get a little bit overwhelming. But that's something that's like, I feel that's like a gift that the Finnish system really gives you. And you are there to decide how to use it. This is kind of like the same thing that goes when you go to a master's degree. So for example, currently I'm studying international business and sales management at the master's level. And I have my core list of courses that I must study. However, at least when I started my studies, I was really interested in the tourism courses that it's from the tourism program. And I was able just to take those courses. I am also planning to take one of the law courses because I really wanna start my own business in Finland. I actually already registered it. So I really wanna understand better taxes in Finland. So even though I am studying at a master's level, international business and sales management, I am 100% able to study a course about taxes from the same university, from a completely different field, or from a field that it's not necessarily mine. For example, the taxing course, I think it's in Finnish actually. So yes, that's like all the freedom that the Finnish educational system gives you. And I think it really might come like very overwhelming at the beginning, especially because if you don't understand it, some Finnish education, like some Finnish schools might just come as, wow, this is so easy, or like, I have nothing to do. And you know, a lot of times it's just that it takes time to understand it. You know, if you don't understand the Finnish system and you just go to your courses and then you just are stuck with the offering that your school is giving you, if you don't ask what are other alternatives, what kind of other courses can you take, what are the opportunities, for example, you know, it gets even very ridiculous, but a degree that it's like 3.5 years, you can make like up to, is it like 5 or 6 months of internship, and the internship can be abroad. And you can also study 1 exchange year abroad. So basically out of those 3.5 years, basically you could just decide to make 6 months in an internship abroad and 1 year abroad on exchange. So basically you only have to study 2 years here in Finland. So the amount of freedom, as I said, it's really ridiculous. And it's really important to understand how to use this freedom so that you can accomplish those things that you came here to study. There might be in Finland at the university level, there might be some days where you only have 4 hours of classes. There might be days where you have the 8 hours of classes, but there might be even days where you have just 2 hours of classes. And a lot of foreign students might just get very overwhelmed and be like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do with all this extra free time? But honey, you get the chance to enroll in so many other activities. You have to learn that in Finland you are given all that freedom because you are there to choose what do you want to learn and how do you want to use what you've learned. And understanding this is just a really key point, in my personal opinion, to get the most out of your education in Finland. So that's probably the biggest things that I wanted to share about the freedom, especially in the terms of education in Finland. I hope you have found this insightful, and I'll be so happy to talk a little bit more about what are all these things that I have learned by studying in the Finnish education in the next video. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!